Hey everyone, and welcome back to Talk Tickers. You know how we do things here. We take those earnings calls, the ones we get rid of all the fluff and bring you the insights you actually need, the stuff that really matters.
No time for filler, right to the good stuff.
Exactly. And today, we're diving deep into Alonco Animal Health. Their Q3 2024 earnings call just dropped. And let me tell you, there's a lot to talk about.
Oh yeah, lots to unpack.
Now, most people know Alonco for those pet mids they make, especially that Seresto collar.
Right, super popular.
But they've actually been making some pretty big moves lately, trying to expand what they offer and really boost their growth.
They have, and it looks like it's starting to pay off. This was their 5th quarter in a row with underlying revenue growth.
5th quarter in a row. That's impressive. Investors must be happy.
Definitely a good sign.
So where's all this growth coming from?
Well, it's a mix of things. Different parts of their business are doing well. For example, their U.S. farm animal segment is up 11%.
11%. Wow.
Yeah. Products like Experior and Rumensin are doing really well with cattle farmers.
Experior. I feel like I've heard that name before.
You probably have. It just hit blockbuster status. Over $100 million in sales.
Wow.
And they recently got approval to use it in even more ways, so that growth is likely to keep going. And then on the pet health side, their international segment is up 2%, thanks in part to AdTab. And yeah, you guessed it, Seresto.
So kind of a mixed bag there, but overall things seem to be moving in the right direction.
Yeah, exactly. Now, there were a couple of things that held them back a little this quarter, some strategic changes they're making and a product recall, but the overall trend is still positive.
Okay, so good momentum even with a few bumps along the way. It seems like innovation is a big part of Alonco's story. They're really banking on these new products.
They are, big time. And it's starting to show some serious results.
Yeah.
They're on track to hit $420 to $450 million in sales just from new innovations this year alone.
This year.
That's incredible.
It is.
Yeah.
Get this. They're projecting that to jump to $600 to $700 million in 2025.
Wow, those are some ambitious goals. They are, what can I say? They're aiming high.
So what are some of the big players in this innovation wave?
Well, we already talked about Experior, which is clearly a winner. But they have a couple of other exciting launches that are getting everyone talking. One is Zenrelia, a brand new dermatology treatment for dogs.
Zenrelia for dogs.
Yeah, it's only been out for a short time, but it's already doing better than Alonco expected, and it's generating a lot of buzz.
Zenrelia, the dermatology disruptor. I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
We're definitely going to have to dig into that one later on.
Oh, absolutely. We'll break down their strategy and talk about how it's performing. So far, so good. There's a lot to cover there. And then there's Credelio Quattro, another new launch that's coming out in early 2025, just in time for peak season. It's a broad-spectrum parasiticide, which basically means...
Hold on. Break that down for me. What does broad-spectrum parasiticide actually mean for the average pet owner?
Good point. It means it protects against a whole bunch of different parasites. Fleas, ticks, heartworms, you name it.
Oh, okay.
Makes sense. And this is a huge market. Alonco wants to be a major player here with Credelio Quattro.
Got it. So we've got sales going up, exciting new products. It sounds like Alonco is on a roll, but are there any challenges they need to watch out for?
Well, they did run into a bit of a problem with one of their key manufacturers in the UK.
Oh no, what happened?
This particular manufacturer makes a good chunk of their farm animal products. We're talking about $160 to $180 million in revenue every year.
That's a lot.
It is. And unfortunately, this manufacturer went bankrupt.
Oh, wow. That's a big deal. What kind of impact is that going to have on Alonco?
They're expecting a small hit to their EBITDA this year, but a much bigger one in 2025, somewhere between $25 and $35 million.
Ouch. But it sounds like they're trying to minimize the damage.
Right. They're working closely with the people handling the bankruptcy to try and keep the supply going. And even with the setback, they're still confident about their outlook for 2025.
That's good to hear. So with all that in mind,
yeah,
what's Alonco's overall forecast for 2025 looking like?
Well, they're projecting mid-single-digit organic revenue growth, which is a pretty big jump from the 3% they're expecting this year. Both pet health and farm animal are expected to contribute to that acceleration.
That's pretty promising. But what about profit? Will they be able to turn that revenue growth into bigger profits?
Good question. They're expecting adjusted EBITDA to grow in the low single digits for 2025. Keep in mind, they're investing a lot in those new product launches, and that's going to impact their profitability in the short term.
Right. Sometimes you have to spend money to make money.
Exactly. They believe these investments will pay off in the long run. They're playing the long game.
Smart. So what about their debt? Are they making any progress there?
More good news. They expect their net leverage to keep going down, reaching the high threes to low fours range by the end of 2025. It's a healthy sign that they're being responsible with their finances.
Okay, so strong growth prospects, smart investments, and a focus on keeping their debt under control. Alonco seems to have a lot going for it. But there's one more thing I want to talk about before we move on, and that's sustainability.
Ah, yes. It's not every day we see a company in the animal health space making such a big move into sustainability. But Alonco is really trying to position themselves as a leader here.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So they have this product called Bover. It's designed to reduce methane emissions from cows.
Wait, eco-friendly cows?
Right.
I have to hear more about this.
It's pretty amazing. It just got approved for sale in California, which is a big dairy state. And the first cows have already been fed the product. And get this, several consumer packaged goods companies have already signed contracts to buy carbon credits generated by using Bover.
Wow. So Alonco isn't just entering a whole new market. They're also positioning themselves at the forefront of a major trend in the food industry.
Exactly. It's a really smart move, and it shows how they're thinking about the future of animal health in a much broader context. This isn't just about treating animals, it's about creating a more sustainable food system.
This is definitely a company to keep an eye on. All right, we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive. We've talked about Alonco's impressive growth, their groundbreaking innovations, and their bold move into sustainability, but there's still a lot more to uncover. We'll be back in just a moment to take a closer look at Zenrelia, that promising new dermatology treatment, and dig deeper into Alonco's 2025 outlook. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Talk Tickers. Before the break, we were talking about Alonco Animal Health and their impressive growth, and their commitment to innovation, especially this new Zenrelia product.
Yeah, that Zenrelia launch definitely caught my attention. It's not every day you see a company try to take over a $1.7 billion global market, especially in a field like canine dermatology.
Yeah.
So what makes Zenrelia so special?
Well, for starters, it's only the second product of its kind in this massive and rapidly growing market. Alonco is going head-to-head with the current leader, and they've got a very specific strategy for how they plan to win.
Okay, I'm all ears. What's the game plan?
Education. That's their main focus. It's not just about selling a product. It's about making sure veterinarians understand how Zenrelia works and why it's different. They're holding medical education meetings, webinars. They're even getting well-known dermatologists to share case studies.
So they're building trust and credibility with the vets. Makes sense.
Yeah.
You don't want to just throw a new drug out there without explaining the science behind it.
Exactly. And they're also really focused on the pet owner experience. They have a targeted sampling program that's giving them valuable real-world data, and early feedback from both vets and pet owners has been super positive.
So happy vets, happy pet owners. Sounds like a winning formula. But do those good vibes translate into actual results? How's Zenrelia performing in the real world?
Well, it's still early, but the initial signs are really encouraging. They're hitting key metrics,
Yeah.
like clinic penetration. They're adding hundreds of new clinics every week. Reorder rates are going up. And get this, vets are using Zenrelia for all sorts of itchy dog cases. It's exceeding expectations.
Zenrelia. It's for all the itches. I love it. But launching a new drug, especially in a competitive market like this, is never easy. Are there any hurdles they need to clear?
There have been some questions about Zenrelia's label, specifically about using it with certain vaccinations, but Alonco has been very open about addressing those concerns. They've been giving vets more data and resources.
Transparency is key in these situations,
Yeah.
especially when we're talking about pet health.
Absolutely. And remember, this is a brand new product, so it's normal for there to be a bit of a learning curve as vets and pet owners get more familiar with it. But it seems like Alonco is handling that transition really well.
Sounds like they're on the right track.
What?
So to sum it up, Zenrelia has the potential to be a real game changer in canine dermatology. It's innovative, it's effective, and Alonco is putting a lot of muscle behind it.
Yeah, it really shows their commitment to finding new solutions in animal health, especially in a market where there are still a lot of needs that aren't being met. I'm excited to see what they do with it in the next few years.
Me too. Now, we do have to talk about that elephant in the room, the UK manufacturing situation. That's got to be weighing on their minds as they plan for 2025.
It's a challenge for sure, but Alonco is doing everything they can to minimize the impact. They're actively looking for other solutions to keep the supply going. And even with this setback, they're still projecting solid growth for 2025.
Okay, so let's dig into that 2025 outlook. They're projecting mid-single-digit organic revenue growth, which is a nice jump from this year's 3% projection. What's driving that confidence?
Well, it's a few things. Their new product pipeline, especially Zenrelia and Credelio Quattro, is expected to contribute a lot. They're also expecting their U.S. farm animal business to keep doing well. Products like Experior are a big part of that growth story.
So they've got both innovation and their established businesses working in their favor. What about their profitability? Will they be able to turn that revenue growth into actual profit?
That's the million-dollar question. They're projecting low single-digit growth in adjusted EBITDA for 2025, and it's important to remember that they're making some big investments in those new product launches, which will affect their profitability in the short term.
They're putting their money where their mouth is. It's a gamble, but a calculated one.
Exactly. And they see these as strategic investments that should lead to better margins down the road. Remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Smart. So how about their debt situation? Are they making any headway there?
Yep. They expect their net leverage to keep going down, reaching somewhere in the high 3s to low 4s range by the end of 2025, which is a solid indicator of financial health and shows that they're committed to being responsible with their finances.
Okay, so we've got strong growth, a great pipeline of new products, and a focus on keeping their debt under control. Sounds like Alonco's doing pretty well.
They are. But remember, there are always risks and challenges in any business. The key is how a company deals with those challenges. And so far, Alonco seems to be handling things well. They're clearly focused on the long game, and that's a good sign.
It is.
Yeah.
We talked about sustainability earlier. That Bover product is really fascinating.
It is. It's not every day you see a company trying to tackle something like reducing methane emissions from cows. It's a bold move, and it shows that Alonco is thinking beyond just animal health. They're thinking about the health of the planet, too.
It's remarkable. They're not just treating animals. They're helping to shape the future of sustainable agriculture. Right. We've covered a lot today. Alonco is definitely a company in transition, and it's a transition that's worth watching.
I agree. It will be interesting to see how these new products do and what impact they have on the animal health landscape. It's a company in transition, and that transition is definitely worth watching. It's going to be fascinating to see how these new products perform and what kind of impact they have on the animal health landscape.
It is. This whole deep dive has me thinking. On the one hand, you've got these big established players in the animal health market, and then you have Alonco, this company that's trying to shake things up with new products and a fresh approach to sustainability.
It's like David and Goliath, but with pet meds and cattle feed.
Exactly. And that makes it even more interesting. Who doesn't love a good underdog story?
Right, especially when that underdog has a portfolio full of potential blockbusters and a commitment to a more sustainable future.
Well said. So to wrap things up, what's the big takeaway here for our listeners? What should they be thinking about when it comes to Alonco?
I think the key takeaway is this. Alonco is a company at a crossroads. They're making big bets on innovation and sustainability, and those bets could really pay off. But there are also risks involved. That manufacturing situation in the UK is a reminder that things don't always go as planned.
True. It's not a sure thing.
Not at all, but it's a company that's worth keeping an eye on.
Right.
If they can execute their strategy, they have the potential to be a real force in the animal health market.
Well said. So to our listeners, we encourage you to do your own research on Alonco. Read the earnings call transcripts, check out their website, see what the analysts are saying.
Don't just take our word for it. Do your own homework and form your own opinions.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, the best investment decisions are the ones you make for yourself, based on your own understanding of the company and the market.
Couldn't agree more.
And with that, we've reached the end of another episode of Talk Tickers.
We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into Alonco Animal Health.
Until next time, keep those brains buzzing and those portfolios growing.